So we just finished this Caravan behind me. We just set it up for an off-grid installation. So it's just got a fair bit of Victron gear in it, some solar panels on the roof, and a couple of Amptron batteries. So let's jump into it and check it out. So we haven't done too much to the outside of this one. So it's got three 215 watt Victron solar panels on the roof. And then we'll just run the new charge harness for the Victron DC-DC charger in the back. But that's pretty much everything we've done on the outside of the van. So we'll jump inside and we'll check out what we've done in there. Yeah, so jumping inside the van, we'll just start at the front here. So just in this little cabinet is where we put the fuses for the solar panels on the roof. We've opted to chuck them in here instead of putting them on the actual roof itself. Obviously, if they ever blow, it's bit tricky to try to get up onto the roof to actually replace them. So that's what this little fuse box up in here is for. It's just a 6-way fuse box, and it's just got 3 fuses, so they're all individually fused and then wired in parallel. And then we have run an extra cable to the roof, into the junction box on the roof, wired directly to this fuse box here. So if they ever wanted to chuck an extra solar panel on top, all the cabling's already there. Just chuck the new fuse on, chuck the new solar panel on, and then you're good to go. And they're all just wired in parallel to the MPPT inside. So that's just where that is all fused. And then back here is where we've gone and put the Touch50 display. So this is the Victron Touch50. It's the flush mount one. So they recently brought out the flush mounts not too long ago, and we try to install those whenever we can. The only downside to them is you do need to get to the back side to be able to mount them. So you can't always find a location to be able to mount those. This one we were able to because we could just take the switch panel off that's just next to it, and then we could get our hand in behind to get to the fixings behind. So it allows us to do the flush mount. Really the benefit is it just looks a lot nicer. No difference in functionality wise. It's really just a looks thing. So that's why we've opted for that one. And then that's just where, same as always, that's where you can see all your information. So you'll be able to see all your incoming charge on the left-hand side of the touchscreen. It's got your 240 coming in, your solar, and then your DC-DC charging. Then the bottom middle is just everything when it comes to your batteries. You can see what your percentage is. You can see the temperature. You can see what the volts is, amps coming in and out. And then above that is just the actual controls of how you control the Multiplus. So you can turn it on, off, inverter only, charger only. And then the right hand side is just all your outputs. So it's same as always pretty much. And then this one, the only levels we've chucked into it is just the temperature sensor for the electrical box. They just wanted to maintain the current water going to their current gauge. So we haven't wired that into the servo. So the only level that's wired to this one is just the temperature gauge we've chucked in. And then that's pretty much everything for the touchscreen. RCDs on this one are just up here. So just had the one RCD. So we've just had to go ahead and replace that. Put the 2 in, so it's got the one for the incoming shore power and then one for your outgoing. Same as always, really, and then that's just wired through to the Multiplus. Then underneath the seat here is where all the electrical gear is housed. So we've just got the 200 amp hour Amptron batteries. Normally we'll chuck them in a 1 battery compartment, but just because this was all fixed in place this wood, we didn't want to go ahead and cut it all and then try to put it all back together. So we just felt that it was better just to put them in 2 individual battery compartments. So that's why they're just in a single one each. Allow us to get them both in there. And then they're both just vented to the outside just to meet obviously the regulations. The slight difference we made from this one compared to how we've done our previous ones is we've used the smart comms on these batteries to be able to talk directly to the servo. So this one doesn't actually have a shunt in it. Really, the reason we did that is you just get a lot more accurate data out of it. So basically, if you're not aware of how the shunt works, is pretty much you'll program that shunt and you'll tell it what you're actually doing. So you'll say, oh, it's got this many amp hours. This is the voltage that you should see at 100%. This is the voltage you see at discharge. This is the discharge floor, so on and so forth. So if a setting ever got incorrectly inputted or came out of whack for whatever reason, your whole monitoring just goes completely out of whack. You don't know exactly what you're at because it's the shunt is just looking at calculations to tell you how much battery power you've got. Where if you eliminate the shunt, there's no room for potential error, and now it's the batteries know exactly where they're at. Of course, the batteries know where they're at. So now they can talk directly to the servo and they'll say, okay, this is exactly where I'm at, I'm doing. And then the other battery can say, this is exactly what I'm doing. You haven't got a third party in between to tell, no, well, override that information and be like, well, I've been told this, so this is the actual information. So we've eliminated the shunt, and these batteries relay their information directly to the servo. So you do need certain batteries to be able to do that. They do need to be able to talk to the Victron system. The Amptron batteries allow that. And then the other thing is you've got to wire them slightly different. So the way we've done these ones is they've got 2 ports on them. One's like a comms port that can talk to another battery, and then one can be like the master one. So we've just got one of these batteries, just goes from the COM port to the COM port on the other battery, and then the other one is the master one that then goes from that and relays it onto the servo. So big benefit is you can see all on your touch screen. You can see what your highest cell is, what your lowest cell is, so you can tell straight away, is there an issue with my battery that one of the cells is out of balance, causing me issues. It also tells you how many batteries you've got online. So instead of in the past where we've told you, oh yep, you've got 400 amp hours of battery power and that's all it knows, this can look at straight away and it'll tell you how much you've got. It's not someone else's teller. The batteries are telling the system, hey, I've got 200 amp hours online right now. So you can see straight away, yeah, I've got 2 batteries, 200 each. They're both talking. I've got no issues with my battery. So it just gives you a bit more insight. And then it also tells you what the temperature is of the battery. So that's all information that you can't get if you just went through a shunt, that we can now get if you just talk directly to the battery. So really just a bit more usability, and that way you know you're getting 100% accurate information at all times. You haven't got the shunt that gets in the way that potentially could cause issues. It's extremely unlikely to happen, and there's no issues with going to a shunt if that's the route you want to take. There's definitely no issues. We've done many of them in the past and we've never had any issues, but it does just eliminate that one potential aspect of something going out of whack. If that shunt, for whatever reason, just failed, all of a sudden you lose all your ability to monitor how much is in this, where the batteries are. If the batteries fail, you got no power. So like, it doesn't matter if like you can't monitor them because there's nothing to monitor because they won't work. So that's really the benefit of why we did that. So that's those 2 batteries. Then just below that is just where we've done our mega fusing. That's all your big main fuses for your inverter, and then off to the rest of the electrical system. Then there's a smaller fuse box for all your smaller fuses. That's just MIDI fuses for your MPPTs, your Orion, and so on. And then next to that is just the Orion 50XS, 50 amp charger coming from your vehicle. Next to that is just the Servo GX. That's basically just every Victron equipment will talk to that servo, and then that servo will just relay that information onto the touch screen. So its really job is it's just a middleman, just gets all the information and just sends it on. And then next to that is just the MPPT for the fixed solar on the roof, and then housed over the wheel arch is the 3 kVA Multiplus. So yeah, it's pretty much the best Multiplus, well, the best inverter charger you can get on the market, and it's probably one of the cheaper ones. It gives you the highest amount of AC charging out of anything on the market, and it's the real reason we go for it. And it's pretty much the most user-friendly, simplified option you can go for. Basically, if you just want 240 volt power, you're just going to tell it on the touch screen, hey, turn on. I want 240 volt power, and the inverter will do the rest. It will see how much is coming in from shore power, how much your demand is, how much I can pull from the batteries. If a genset comes in, you can tell it, hey, drop down, I've got a 2 kVA genset, only pull this much from the generator, it'll pull the rest from the batteries. It handles it all for you. You don't have to think about it, just tell it to turn on and it'll deal with the rest. So that's why we go for it. You get the highest AC charging, and then you get the most user-friendly experience at a very cost-effective price. Hence why we always go for the Victron Multiplus. Yeah, so that's everything for this Caravan. So yeah, it's now set up to go off grid. It's pretty much like our stock standard for going off grid. You really want minimum 400 amps if you want to be able to run a fair bit of 240 volt power. Go a 3 kVA Multiplus, and then that way it allows you to plug in at caravan parks or at home, get that AC charge, and then run your van on top of that. And then, yeah, you can definitely go off grid with the amount of solar it's got for extended periods of time, and you won't have any drama. So if you're after any more information or you'd like something similar for yourself, you can head over to our website and get in contact with us there.